to Ark Survival Ascended. Today we're officially starting off our guide series that is going to walk you through from being a noob beach bob to an expert survivor in the game. Starting off with today's video, we have the official starter guide. We're going to be going over some really important mechanics in the game that every player needs to master. Starting us off with the first set, and that's going to bring us to the meters that you have to monitor in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. As you can see in the very top of these meters, we have a little weight icon. Obviously, this is going to be resemblance of your weight that your personal inventory on your character can actually hold. But essentially, as this color fills in the entire weight, that means that you are carrying more and more items, and then obviously once it gets capped out, it will start blinking at you, and that will signify that you obviously cannot move because you're holding too many items. This is going to be something you're going to have to keep an eye on as you continue to progress through the game, and when you level up, you will have the ability to actually use a stat point to increase the amount of the total amount of weight that you can carry, not only for yourself, but also for your dino. Moving on to the next one, we have the water droplet. This one is pretty self-explanatory. This one is going to be the amount of water that your character currently has at any given moment. As you perform activities, whether that's going to be running, that's going to be jumping, building, fighting, anything, swimming, you name it, you will consume and utilize your water meter. As your water meter goes down, don't worry, you can actually run up to any amount of water inside of the game. It doesn't matter if it's the ocean or a lake or, drinking out of a tap. Either way, all you have to do is you can walk over to it, click the E button on your keyboard if you're on Steam, and then you would then obviously drink that water. Same thing goes for if you create a water sack here on your inventory. By utilizing the action button for that specific slot that you have it slotted at, your character will then consume that water and your water meter will then become filled again. Now, the next icon we have right below that is actually the ham hock looking one, and that is resemblance for your food. Once again here, obviously you want to try to maintain this at capped out as much as possible, but either way, as you obviously do more actions in the game, very similar to the water meter, it will then slowly deplete over time, thus making you have to eat in the game in order for you to replenish it. Early game, that's going to be berries, harvesting from all of your plants and foliage, no matter where you are. It could be in the snow area, on the beach, in the jungle, you name it. You can harvest your berries from there to replenish your food quickly. Now, it's going to take a lot of extra berries in order to do so. It's not the efficient way to do it, but it can absolutely be done. Obviously, as you move into the later stages of the game, or not necessarily later stages, but then you'll be able to kill a couple of dinos, harvest raw meat, and then you can cook that raw meat into cooked meat on a campfire or like a forge or something. Once you get that cooked, then that's going to be a lot more efficient when it comes to sustaining and filling your bar meter for your food. Next up, we have the stamina meter, which is the little lightning bolt right below. Once again, as you use things that would consume stamina, whether that's going to be attacking, running, jumping, swimming, all of those things will consume your stamina. Obviously, you want to keep an eye out on your stamina, not only for yourself, but also for your dinos, because your dinos also will have a stamina bar on top of all the other meters. But nevertheless, you want to make sure you're keeping an eye out on your stamina at all times. You definitely don't want to be, caught getting in a fight with another dino or some random dino like a raptor or something running up to you and you're completely out of stamina, because unfortunately, you won't be able to fight without passing out. You won't be able to defend yourself, and you won't be able to run away. So absolutely keep an eye out on your stamina bar. It is really, really important. And the second to last one here, and honestly the most important one, is going to be down at the very bottom, and this is the cross icon. This one is going to be representative of your character's health. Obviously, as you take more damage, then you will then obviously lose chunks of the coloring inside of this cross, and so naturally you want to make sure you're keeping your health up at all times. If you happen to be starving, if you happen to be thirsty, either of those two options will then slowly start to deplete your health until obviously you eat more food or drink more water to get your meters filled back up. They don't have to be 100%, topped off, but they cannot be empty. If they're empty, you will slowly start to take damage until your character inevitably dies. Same thing goes for fighting anything or drowning or jumping off of a high cliff. Any damage that you obviously will take, you will see it reflected on your health meter down here in the bottom. And last but not least, the little like obelisk or implant icon right below your health, that is just going to be resemblance of your character's level and how close you are to leveling up once more. Obviously, you'll start down where you have nothing filled in here, and then as you get closer to the next level for your character, then that color will then fill in that entire in plant or obelisk icons. And before we go any further, just a quick reminder that I am still doing a giveaway here for a free copy of Ark Survival Ascended on the Steam platform. All you have to do is utilize the link down below in the pinned comment, fill out the form, and then obviously you will enter for a chance to win. I'll be doing that giveaway in a follow-up video. Not only that, while you're down there, you might as well hit the subscribe button if you made it this far. Thank you very much for the support. So now, going hand in hand with monitoring your meters that you have in the bottom right hand side, something that greatly affects these meters or can have an impact on these are actually the temperature of your character at any given moment. So to give you an example here, if you happen to get a little bit cold, now not cold enough to cause any damage or any sort of drainage, but if you happen to get a little bit of cold, you will see a snowflake icon. This snowflake icon is nothing to worry about. You can obviously just ignore it. However, what it is something to keep in mind of is potentially at nighttime, or that nighttime that is coming up very soon, might actually be a lot colder, bringing you from the snowflake to the actual ice cube. Now, this ice cube icon does actually deplete all of your meters a little bit faster. So your water, your food, for instance, your stamina, for instance, as you're doing more things, it might be depleted a lot quicker. And then last but not least, if you do not seek any sort of warmth whatsoever, your character will start actually taking health damage due to it being too cold. So now, things that you can do in that situation would be to put on better armor, or better armor that is, more insulated. Things like if you are wearing your cloth armor, upgrading to hide or even something like fur would be a good option, or moving yourself closer to some sort of open flame, whether that's going to be a simple torch that you are carrying, maybe a campfire, a couple of campfires, a fireplace, inside, a actual building or a structure, you name it. There's several different ways that you can increase your overall warmth, but that's going to be something you need to take, into consideration when you are out exploring. Same thing goes here in reverse. You can actually get a little flame icon down at the bottom, which is signifying that your character is actually hotter than normal. Again, there's going to be a first stage here that doesn't really cause any damage, but more of just like a, noticeable action, like, hey, you might want to keep an eye out on what you're currently wearing, or are you near a water source, or are there other things that you can do compared to just standing out in the open blazing hot sun. Now eventually it will kick over to a even bigger flame, and then at this point, yes, your character starts sweating a lot more. It starts to consume a lot more water very, very fast. Your stamina gets depleted a lot faster, and then if it does happen for too long, your character will then start to take additional damage, and once again will eventually die. So you definitely want to make sure you're keeping an eye out for these indicators along with your meters, because these are going to be the main core functions when it comes to actually surviving in the game or potentially struggling. Now, the next big thing I want to talk about, and that is the different zones. When it comes to Ark Survival Ascended, and especially on the island map, everything essentially, as you go further north, becomes harder. As you can see here with the preset spawn points, the green ones that are always located down in the very bottom, these ones are going to be the easier zones. What that means is that when you spawn in these zones, the likely chance, it's not impossible, but the likely chance of something being there that is very detrimental or going to attack you right off of the bat are a lot slimmer, and the dinos that spawn in that area are a lot easier. So for instance, when you load into a green zone, more than often than not, you're going to see a flourish of dodos on the beach, lysosauruses, and compies, right? Occasionally you'll see some dillos, which are going to be probably the worst of all of them in that area. And then additionally, you're going to see things like some of your bigger ones, maybe your parasaurs, your iguanodons, your turtles, and then potentially a raptor or two. Moving into the yellow zones, or pretty much like the middle areas of the map, so to speak, those are going to be a little bit tougher. You're going to start running into bigger and badder and faster dinos, and that's going to take a little bit harsher with the overall elements being super, super cold at night potentially, or being super, super hot, depending on the location of the map and where you spawn. But just note that it's a little bit more challenging. And then obviously, as you get further north in these red zones, these are going to be where a lot more dangerous, more violent, more aggressive dinos are going to be as soon as you spawn in the game right off the bat. Same thing goes for resources being more scarce, and additionally, the elements being a lot harsher. So if you are brand new to the game, I would highly recommend start down in the green zones. If you're feeling a little bit more of an extra challenge and this isn't your first survival game, start in the middle zones and then go from there. there, really it's going to be all about just starting learning the game's core mechanics and then work your way north. And now, speaking of spawning, I want to talk about what exactly you guys should do as soon as you spawn in the game if you are a new player to Ark Survival Ascended. As soon as you guys spawn, clicking one of the starter zones more often than not will wake you up on the beach edge. Once again here, kind of reiterating, on this beach, it is filled with tons of resources, making the early game as easy as it possibly can be. Not only will you have an abundance of, resources, you'll have very easy access to stone that you could just run down the beach and pick it up, not along with a lot of stone nodes for you to harvest once you do craft a hatchet. Additionally, you'll have a lot of little beach palm trees that you could then chop down to get easy quick wood, along with picking up the wood along the beach as well as when you do with your sand or your stone. And additionally here, you'll have a ton of foliage right off of the sand, a little bit further, away from the beach, but you can run through there and just get a ton of berries, obviously, to eat to sustain yourself early game, on top of the fiber that you're going to need to craft the items. Not only that, in addition to having all of those resources, it's normally filled with tons and tons of easy dinos that you can kill early game to get an abundance of meat, obviously to help sustain your food level, because berries will only hold you over for so long. And then additionally, you'll get a bunch of hide. This hide is going to be what you need, especially early game, in order to start crafting better gear, better armor. And on top of that, the most obvious one is you are right next to the main water source in the world, meaning that you can literally run right into the ocean, press your action button, drink your water immediately anytime that your water is low. You don't really necessarily need to even craft a water sack at this point early on in the game, because you literally live right off of the ocean, and it just makes it very convenient. And that, my friends, is going to wrap up our starter guide for Ark Survival Ascended. Hopefully these tips and tricks help you out, whether you're a new player diving into the game for the first time, or maybe it offers a really good refresher for any of the veterans from Ark Survival Ascended officially looking to get back into Ark. Either way, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe here on the channel for everything Ark Survival Ascended related. And with that being said, as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.